Let's end the stigma of mental health by starting these conversations. Let's get ourselves comfortable talking about it and talking with others about our own mental health, as well as talking to people about their mental health. And if we can do that, we're going to lower that stigma. And as we lower that stigma, we lower the likelihood of suicide, so that suicide prevention just swoops right in there, because now we're all talking. And I am a big believer that we all bleed red and we all have mental health that we have to nurture and cultivate.
Brings you down, 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 down to the ground. And it's hard when you can't see the light, 'cause things don't look so bright. So now it's time to reframe and retrain your brain. It's time to look for the good. You know that you should. Why don't you join me? 'Cause I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. Oh, oh, oh. I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine.
I'm Karaleigh Garrison, a singer-songwriter, motivational speaker, and your host of the Seeking Sunshine podcast, where we find the positive in the trials of life. I created this podcast because I believe really deeply that we can learn from one another's stories and experiences. I'm willing to bet that just about all of us have been through some really, really tough things. And not only is it therapeutic for us to be able to talk about these darkest times in our lives, but the lessons that we've learned and the resilience we've shown can help everyone around us weather their own storms from higher ground. On the Seeking Sunshine podcast, we don't shy away from difficulty and trauma, but we always look for the sunshine in it. It's my personal belief that there are blessings in every trial and trials in every blessing. I use this Seeking Sunshine mantra every single day to change my perspective when things start going wrong and getting frustrating, which they often do because I have 3 kids with special needs. And I can tell you that it has transformed my life. And I hope, and that's the whole point of this podcast, that it can transform your life too. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Seeking Sunshine podcast. I'm so glad that you're here today. I hope that you had a really amazing 4th of July and that you are having such a beautiful summer. There is so much to be grateful for as we get to enjoy the sunshine, and yes, even the heat, and yes, even the kids being home from school, which comes for me at least with its fair set of challenges. But I am working really hard to remember to seek sunshine and find gratitude in every day, and there's a lot to be thankful for during this time of year. So I am thankful for the summer. I hope that you are finding joy and beauty in nature and in everything that you are doing right now. So I'm super excited for today's episode. We have a really, really great episode. But before we get started, I wanted to let you know that there's a trigger warning for this episode. We talk a lot about suicide, but it is mostly about suicide prevention. My guest is a mental health advocate, and she's absolutely incredible. But I want to give you that warning just in case this is a topic that is particularly triggering for you. This might be the one to skip, but this is really an amazing episode, so if you can handle it, I do encourage you to listen, because there's so much gold in here that can help so many people. So our guest today is the incredible Julie McLean. She spoke on the TEDx stage about mental health, and she is so great. So this is what she says. She says, as a speaker and mental health advocate, I have done things I never thought possible. This came to fruition in 2021 when I was on the TEDxOcala stage talking about my mental health and mental illness, which I want to say is so freaking brave of her to do, to talk about something so vulnerable and so personal on such a huge platform is amazing. So she says, ending the stigma of mental health has become my mission. Asking the right questions can save a life. It did for me. She is amazing, and she talks about ways that we can help those who are struggling with suicidal thoughts, how the exact questions that we can ask that can help save their lives, which is such an important thing to know. And I know for me personally, in my life and in my experience, like, these are things I wish I had known at different times in my life as I've had to deal with this topic in my life. So this is a really important episode. This is information that's really, really great to know, and it's super helpful for so many people. And for anybody who is struggling with their mental health, I just want to offer so much love, and I want you to know that you're not alone. There are a lot of people who are struggling, and the key is to talk about it. The key is to open up, because knowing that you're not alone and sharing that is so powerful. And that's kind of what Julie shares here. She shares how opening up saved her, really. And so if you ever need someone to talk to, like, talk to me. I'm here to help you. I would love to hear you and let you know that, like, you matter, because you really, really do. So without any further ado, here is Julie McLean. She's incredible, and I'm so excited and grateful that I get to share her words with you today. Hi, Julie. Thank you so much for being here today on the Seeking Sunshine podcast.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to hear your story. I was reading through your bio, and there's so much that I've experienced in similar ways in my story. So I'm really excited to dive in. So let's hear all about you.
Well, it's not very sunshiny in the beginning. I was six.
I know, I'm already going to jump in and interrupt you. We're like 2 seconds in. One of the things that I was just saying not too long ago, it's like, when all you can see is dark clouds, the only reason you can see them is because of the sun. And so, like, that's the whole point of seeking sunshine, is to look for the sunshine in the darkness. So we have to start with the darkness, and you have to go through that to get to the sun. So sorry.
Okay. So I have darkness, definitely. I was 16 the first time I attempted to take my life. I had a very rough childhood, and I didn't feel like my life had any value to it. But I knew that my family would be upset. So that's what stopped me way back then. And then, years progressed. I had my son. He was 3 years old the second time I tried to take my own life. And what got me back from that was, what's going to happen to my son if I'm not there? So that was the closest, because that ended up, they had to take me in a hospital in an ambulance. So that was the closest.
Well,
and then
I'm very grateful that you had all these people around you that
thank you.
You knew needed you.
Yep. And then in 2019, we could thank my husband for me being here, because I was in physical pain. I had a bad back, and I had problems with my knees. I had the first 6 months of the year was terrible for me. It was friends dying, people having babies, being at a convention for too long. It's just so many things piled up on top of me. And in May of 2019, I had a mental crisis. And my husband had come home and saw me bawling on the couch. And I told him I was going to leave him. And he wouldn't take that as an answer.
In my experience, that's like a number one, like a number one, not trigger, but like that will tell you that they are not in a good place.
Yep.
That's been my experience with my husband.
And he didn't know I had spent the entire day Googling how to take your own life and make it look like an accident. But he asked me
I'm like, ahead. Sorry, I'm like, why is that even on Google? That should not even.
Right. And it really wasn't helpful. I can tell you that much. So don't bother doing. But but I had found my own way of wanting to do it. And so my husband asked me the three most important questions in my life. And the first one, are you okay? I'm sitting there bawling my eyes out. No, I was not okay. The second one is, do you want to hurt yourself? Now, I know that's a little controversial sometimes because people think if you ask if somebody wants to hurt themselves, they're more likely to do it. It's totally the opposite because your brain gets moving and saying, what am I doing? So asking asking someone if they want to hurt themselves is not going to cause them to go and hurt themselves. It's going to make them have second thoughts.
It's like calling them out on it. And
right. Exactly.
Out, we go, oh, wait, no, I'm not going to.
Exactly. And then the third thing, which is the most important, is, do you have a plan? I had a plan. I knew exactly what I was going to do. I wasn't coming home that night. I had every intention of not coming home that night. So those three questions, he knew that I was really in a bad place and having a major crisis. So the next day he was able to help me get some treatment. And I ended up in a very intensive outpatient therapy. I had ended up in the hospital once before, and it was a horrific ordeal, and I was terrified to go back into the hospital.
You know, it's not just like, oh, go take a vacation and be in.
Yeah, no, that is not vacation time at all.
They're very difficult places to be in mentally, and
they are very difficult places. So in my intake to get the therapy that I needed, I had to make some agreements so that they wouldn't put me in a hospital. So I had to agree that I wasn't going to drive because part of my plan included driving. I had to agree that I wasn't going to be alone. So my husband ended up when I wasn't in therapy, he was spending days with me on the weekends. If he wasn't home, we had friends come and stay with me, and my mom come and stay with me. And then he had to take all the medication out of the house, just in case I changed my plan. But I went into that therapy. I walked in with my head hung down. I had long bangs. So the bangs were covering my eyes. And I had absolutely no idea what anybody looked like for 3 days. And they didn't know what I looked like because I wouldn't pick my head up. I wouldn't speak. I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. I'm like, I don't want to be here, but I know I have to be here.
Well, and I'm certain that there was a level, in entirety of feeling like you weren't worth the attention.
Exactly.
And that's entirely why, suicidal thoughts kind of tend to happen, is that lack of self-worth, which is why self-worth is so important.
Exactly. So I sat and I listened for those first 3 days, and there were people from all different walks of life with all different kinds of mental health challenges, including addiction. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm listening to these people freely talk about their story and their mental health. Why shouldn't I? So I started talking, and I felt better. I was really surprised that being able to open up and really talk about my feelings made me feel better. So when I would now talk about everything, and I had to go to a convention with a lot of people, a 400-person convention, and I was afraid of it. And so I asked my friends who were also going to that convention, I'm like, listen, this is what happened. This is what I'm going through. I need help getting through this convention. And they were so supportive. I couldn't believe how supportive they were, hugging me and thanking me for being so open and honest and trusting them to be able to tell them what was going on. So I kept talking.
and I have to butt in again. I've been reading a lot of Brene Brown lately, and all of the work around shame, and it's just so incredible to learn, about how shame cannot survive when you speak it. And when you have all these, when you decide to be vulnerable, that's how you get rid of shame. And that's how, and we all want to see vulnerability from each other. That's what we most deeply want from each other, but we're so afraid to give it. I always
liked Brene Brown and her comparison between shame and embarrassment, because
Yeah.
shame comes from within and embarrassment comes from without.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I always loved that comparison.
Her definitions are so useful.
They are. They definitely are.
Comparing shame to guilt, and like, you know, shame is I'm a bad person and guilt is I did something wrong. And I've been using that one a lot with my kids as they
Yep.
struggle with their own needs. And it's very, very helpful to
Yep.
have those things defined so that you can understand more fully what's going on with you and then how to work on yourself better.
Absolutely. So I made the decision after I finished with my therapy that I was going to start working on me. So believe it or not, in the first quarter of 2020, I isolated myself just to work on me. And then COVID came. So now here I am, the whole entire year I isolated.
Hilarious. Okay.
Who would have known? Really, who would
Well,
have
and
known?
it just goes to show, like, the benefits of isolating yourself are I don't know, they're beneficial regardless of
They
COVID.
can be.
Like, it's like that's how you can choose to grow and learn,
Mhm.
just focusing on you. And how much did we all learn from COVID when we were forced to do it? And you had
Exactly.
the foresight to do, you know,
Ahead of
choose
time.
it. Yeah.
So I started going to the gym, trying to get some endorphins going. And I read a book as I was sitting on the recumbent bike called Negative Self-Talk and How to Change It. Oh my God, it changed my life. It was like the heavens parting and literally the sun coming in, because it made so much more sense. One of the things that was talked about in the book is that no matter where you grew up from, it was a good childhood, a bad childhood, rich, poor, we all grow up with negative thoughts, because the first word we learn is no. No, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. No, don't touch this. No, no, no. And that's where it all stems from.
Well, and it's
that
also
no.
like, it's no, you'll get hurt. No, you'll
Right.
get hurt. So why do we limit ourselves? Why do we like shy away from doing what we really want?
It's
Because we
that
think we'll
fear.
get hurt.
So I had spent years before that, and my husband used to tell me, that's not you. I would always be negative about things and look on the negative side and just keep saying, well, that's how I was brought up. This is who I am. And he kept telling me, no, that's not who you are. And it wasn't until I read this book that I realized, no, it's not. So I spent those first 3 months teaching myself how to meditate. I mean, I knew meditation, but I could never calm my mind down enough to do it.
Right. And it's such a misconception about like what meditation is. And
oh my God, right?
Right. It's like you don't just like my husband and I've had this conversation a lot because he struggles with, autism and ADHD. And we've been, working on increasing that, calmness and peacefulness in our house. So we're working on meditation, and like, and I've been trying to tell him that it's not about just sitting and quieting your mind. None of us can really, you
Right.
can't just get rid of all your thoughts. That's not how our brains work. It's about allowing yourself to just sit in silence and be with yourself.
Yep. Well, and I can't sit up for long periods of time with my legs crossed. I mean, I have 2 brand new knees, so they don't really bend as much as I would like to anymore. But it's not all about just sitting, with your legs crossed going,
right.
You do lose focus when you meditate, and it's okay. I tend to meditate lying down. I find it much more comfortable to lie down. So I had a hammock on my patio, and I would lay in the hammock. It didn't matter what the weather was. I live in Florida, so most of the time.
My kids now all have hammocks as beds, actually. So
I think that's a great idea.
We're all on the hammock train. Well, they all have ADHD and they have hard time, and that acts like such a hug. And
yep. So I taught myself to meditate. I would spend 3 hours a day meditating and listening to affirmations. Mostly I am affirmations to remind myself that I had worth, to get that into my head that I had worth. I started going into aromatherapy. I mean, I went with the woo too. I figured, I can do the other things, but let's Let's try aromatherapy. Let's try
Well,
crystal
and
healing.
what's amazing is that we're coming to this point where there's so much science to back up all of the stuff that we grew
Yep.
up as thinking like, that's crazy, that's woo, that's so far out there, that's just, you're tricking yourself. And there's actually like so much science now
Yep.
backing up all of these things.
Yep. So I did all of that, and we went through 2020 all isolated, so I kept reinforcing that. And then in 2021 I decided, you know what, I need to talk more about this, and I got accepted to do a TEDx talk.
Which that's so amazing.
So I have been on TEDxOcala in 2021. So you can go on YouTube and you can text TEDxOcala 2021 and you'll find me. And it was all about how a conversation can save a life. Let's end the stigma of mental health by starting these conversations. Let's get ourselves comfortable talking about it and talking with others about our own mental health, as well as talking to people about their mental health. And if we can do that, we're going to lower that stigma. And as we lower that stigma, we lower the likelihood of suicide, so that suicide prevention just swoops right in there, because now we're all talking. And I am a big believer that we all bleed red and we all have mental health that we have to nurture and cultivate. Why are we so afraid of talking about it?
Oh, you are so right. And I absolutely adore your cause. It is essential. We're afraid of it because we're afraid to need help.
Absolutely.
We're in this, culture of just like, do it all on your own, do it all yourself.
Do it all.
Yeah, you can give, but don't receive, because that means you're weak. And it's just, we all need each other.
I was
each other.
I was talking to a few men who were like, oh, I don't talk about my mental health. And I'm like, real men wear pink and real men talk about their feelings. Real men cry. Don't sit there and tell me that, oh, you're not a real man. No, it's you're opening, you're being vulnerable. And guess what? Women like when men are vulnerable.
Well, and you're more balanced and you're more healthy and you're happier.
Right.
Like, we've got to have both sides of that coin,
Definitely. And there's just so much, there's religious stigma, there's cultural stigma, there is gender stigma. It's all around us, the stigma of mental health. And I have a mental illness. Your husband has a mental illness. Only a couple of us, not in the grand scheme of things, only a few of us have mental illness, but everybody has mental health, good, bad, or indifferent. And when you have 1 in 4 people struggling with their mental health, that's a lot. That's an awful lot of people struggling with their mental health and need to talk about it.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a self-care coach for burnt out moms. And it's just essential. Like, it's just essential. And we tend to, lose ourselves in our lives and go, oh, that can wait, that can wait, that can wait. But it cannot wait.
No.
It has to be now.
No. One of the things that I struggled with, and going through this transition that I went through, the struggle was, I need to be perfect. I over accepted things. People would ask me, yes, I'll do that. Yes, I'll do that. Yes, I'll do that. But I never delivered 100%. And of course, that's going to wreak havoc on your mental health. I've learned that I don't need to be perfect, because every time I fail at something, it's just another opportunity for me to learn something. And if I stop learning, what's the point if you stop learning? Failure is actually a good thing. It's not a bad thing. And we have to stop overcommitting ourselves and really look at ourselves and be able to say no. And learning how to say no was a huge milestone for me.
Absolutely. Well, and if you're failing to be perfect, then you're in good company, because that would be all of us.
Yes.
Because perfection doesn't exist. It's not It's not something that you can actually achieve
Yeah.
no matter what you put into it. And that's
It's
why
like
it's so
beauty, in my
dangerous.
opinion.
Mm,
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
mhm.
Perfection is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
You might not feel like you're beautiful. You might not feel like you're perfect, but somebody else can say, "Oh my God, that's amazing that you can do that." Mine falling short was always somebody else's way of being perfect, because they couldn't do it. So there's things that I can do that somebody else can't do. But I want to talk more about mental health and
That's a great way to look
suicide
at it.
prevention. Mhm.
Yeah, let's talk mental health and suicide prevention. Let's do it.
Yeah, yeah. I want people to be free to turn around and be able to ask the 3 questions my husband asked me. Are you okay? It's okay to not be okay. Go ahead and say yes. If you're asking that question to somebody and that person says yes, but yet they're becoming introverted, or they're known for making plans with somebody and canceling at the last minute, or not going to appointments that were scheduled, they're not okay.
If there's a
They are,
change, there's
there
a
is a
change when
change.
people
Any
are.
change in somebody's behavior like that
Mhm.
is a perfect sign to see that somebody's not okay.
So then, how
It's
do you define okay?
exactly, exactly. Being sitting on a bench and being sad, and noticing somebody sitting on a bench and being sad, are they okay? Maybe. Maybe they just have that RBF face. Who knows?
Well, and it's one thing to be sad because of a specific thing that's happening. Like
Mhm.
something bad happens and you're sad, and
Right,
that's a logical, that's a thing that just happens. It's kind of the same as I think about it as like happiness versus joy. And
right.
like joy is just like an overall feeling. It's like a life choice, and happiness is just determined by our circumstances. So if your sadness is determined by your circumstances and it goes away and comes back and goes away and comes back, then that's fairly normal, right? But if you have that underlying kind of permanent level of sadness, it never seems to ebb. That's when we're starting to step into that
That's
darker
where the
place.
problems are. So go ahead and ask people if they're okay. If you're having a struggle or a crisis, tell people you're not okay. And then the second question is, do you want to hurt yourself? That is, there's such a stigma about that question, because again, so many people think that if I'm going to actually come out and ask them if they want to hurt themselves, they're going to hurt themselves. No, they're not going to hurt themselves. They're going to take a step back and say either, hey, what am I doing? Or, wow, somebody really cares about me. And they'll take
Yeah.
that step back from the ledge, so to speak.
Yeah, well, and it's like, oh, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's kind of getting that shame out in the open, like in
Right.
a different kind of way. It's like, are you thinking about hurting yourself? Oh my gosh, I thought I was keeping that secret. I thought no one could tell.
Exactly.
I thought I was putting on a good enough face to cover up all of the pain.
I call that face the mask, because I can tell you all those friends that I went to the conference with had no idea that my mental health was unstable, that I was on the verge of crisis. They had no idea, because I would walk into a room and be like, hey, how is everybody? So good to see you. I always joke that when my eyebrows go up, I'm having a trouble. But the most important question is always, do you have a plan? If somebody has a plan, that's imminent. They know what they want to do. They know how they're going to do it. You need to get that person help. You either need to call, an ambulance to get them or take them to the hospital. I don't know where everybody listens to. In the state of Florida, we have something called the Baker Act. But you can, if somebody is in crisis and they're going to hurt themselves or hurt others, you can call the police and they'll take them to a mental health facility. And they'll put them on a 48-hour hold, which helps them regain some of that control back of their mental health and not be out of crisis and not be out of control on it. So making sure that if somebody has a plan, you want to get them help immediately.
Guys, I just wanted to pause here for 1 second to let you know about the awesome thing that I'm doing right now. I am so excited to announce that I'm offering a custom song experience for a small number of people. This is your chance to take your story, your podcast, or your business even, and turn it into an incredible, timeless work that will bring back beautiful, loving emotions for decades to come. This is such a perfect gift for your spouse, for a newborn baby, or for a parent, and it's a really great way to embody your business or your podcast's mission. We're going to meet together several times and deep dive into the message and emotion you want to convey to make sure that you're getting something that you absolutely adore. A custom song is an incredible asset for advertising, for lifting team spirit, and for encapsulating family memories. If you are interested in a custom song, please email me at customsongsbykaraleigh@gmail.com.
So I'm curious if there are levels to planning.
I would say yes.
Like a vague idea of what if I just do that? And it's
I think that's where the question, do you want to hurt yourself, comes in.
Okay. So if they have like a method, and I ask this because of experience with people I love, who have stated things like, oh, I just am gonna walk in the road. That's what I think. And it's like, is it serious or is it not serious?
For me, I would look at the conversation that started that.
Yeah, it's obviously like serious enough to like be like a thing, but is it like a 48-hour hold level serious, or I'll watch it serious is my question.
So here's a trigger warning for your audience. My plan was I was going to run my car at full speed into a bridge stanchion. I literally scouted out bridges that had pavement that went all the way up to the stanchions so that I wouldn't lose momentum on the grass. I didn't want to run into the back of a truck because that's emotional for a truck driver. But my philosophy is how do I make it look like an accident? But I didn't want to hurt anybody else in the process. And not thinking that taking your own life will hurt somebody. So that was the plan. I mean, the road that I chose was just a circle coming off of a highway onto another highway. So you have that whipping speed coming around a circle. The bridge stanchion was right there. I could have done it easily. It's just a matter of keeping your foot. Well, I won't go there. Too much of a trigger.
Well, I mean, you're not the first person who's talked about this. I had this amazing mom with who has special needs kids on, and she had a hell year and was so burnt out and so exhausted that was something, in a very, very similar way, that was something that had gone through her mind when she was at her most tired, most burnout, a year of not sleeping. And it's not uncommon. Like it's really not uncommon. And like my aunt, not my aunt, my cousin, committed suicide a couple of years ago. And
we use die by suicide now.
Die by suicide.
Die by suicide. Yeah, it's less critical about the person.
Yeah,
I've also,
that's a good point.
I've also had a cousin who has died by suicide, and he was happy-go-lucky and talented, and he had a bazillion different friends, and he just ended up in a situation where he was so overwhelmed by his emotions that it was on a whim, because he didn't follow through with what he should have followed through on. You know, he was at a fire. He was a firefighter, and he was at a fire. And after fires, firefighters actually sit and debrief because it gives an opportunity for their adrenaline to come down and to relax and calm. And if there's any trauma associated with that fire, they can talk it out with fellow firefighters. But he didn't stay for that. He left. And then his girlfriend called him, and his girlfriend broke up with him. And it was just one thing on top of another for him. And, you know, he tried calling people, but it was 1 o'clock in the morning. And there are people still guilty to this day because they didn't pick up the phone. And
that's devastating. Well,
it's horrible, especially for somebody so young. He was only 19.
Yeah. Well, and it's really interesting to me how there's some people who it just all crashes down at once, and they're like, nope, I'm done. Like this is one moment is too much. And then there's people who, like my aunt, where it's been constant her entire life, and it's been this constant battle to stay here, and then she chose not to. And
until I went through this transformation of mine, I thought about suicide almost every day. It for me, it was constant, and I was able to manage it. And then when the world started caving in on me in the beginning of 2019, it finally culminated with me laying on a couch, crying my eyes out because my back hurts so bad and my knees hurt so bad that I didn't want to deal with it anymore. And that was the catalyst for me.
Well, and it's amazing as I look at all of these different things that we talk about. We talk about suicide, we talk about addiction, we talk about other sorts of unhealthy coping mechanisms, and it's all about getting out of pain.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And if we could, as a society, look at people from that point of pain and have compassion on them and be like, they're doing these things so that they can get out of pain, instead of judging people. So like, we look at people who have been in jail and people who have had addictions and all these different things, and it's like, they did those things out of pain. Can we talk about the pain? Can we solve the pain?
Yeah.
Before we start saying that, they're not like me, they're terrible.
Yeah.
Like we all have that pain. That's something we can all understand and relate to.
And pain is different for every person.
Mm-hmm.
You could have siblings that grow up in the same household, and they could both have pain, but be different types of pain. One could have pain and one could not. One could have reconciled their pain and one could not. So we can't judge people on their pain either, because we haven't walked a mile in their shoes.
Yes, but we should have compassion for
exactly
those.
Exactly. And I think we're lacking a lot of compassion in this world today.
Yeah.
I think we've hit the it's all about me world.
Yeah.
And stopped worrying about our fellow man or woman or whatever non-binary gender you might be.
Yeah, I say this too often because it's my favorite quote, but my favorite quote comes from Frozen.
Let it go.
No, it's that people make bad choices when they're mad or scared or stressed. Mm-hmm. And we can apply that to everyone, and it helps us have compassion to all the people out there who are making choices we don't view as, good or healthy. It's like, well, they're mad or scared or stressed. Like there's a reason, there's something going on behind it. And then we can also turn it around on ourselves and be like, in what ways am I making bad choices because I haven't been taking care of myself?
People who are in crisis and who want to take their own lives, you're only having a bad day. You're not having a bad life. Even if your life is horrific, you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. So you're only look at today, and today is bad. Tomorrow won't be bad. It might be bad. It might be good. So when you're in that crisis, it's just focus on the fact that you're only having a bad day. Don't worry about the past. You can't change the past. It's behind us, where we can't do anything about it.
Well,
The
and there's no
future,
point in reliving the past.
exactly.
The only thing that we have is now. Like the future
Mhm.
doesn't really exist, and the past doesn't really exist, because it's all just us living it now.
Right.
When we're
And that's
thinking
all about being present.
yeah, and mindfulness. Yeah. So when you're thinking about the past, you're actively reliving it in the present when you don't need to be.
Right. Right. And but you have to reconcile that past to be able to move forward and not think about it anymore. And that's where my journey was for with meditation and affirmations. And a lot of my meditations was forgiveness and letting go, because I was holding on to so much pain from the past. My husband gave me the theme song from Frozen, Let It Go. Anytime I would harp on something, he would play the music, where no matter where we were, he had it queued up on his phone. So it was always playing.
That's
Let
hilarious.
It
That's
go.
hilarious.
You know what? It made sense to me though. And it felt good when he did it, because he was paying attention, and he's always done that. So
Yeah, it sounds like he's been such an amazing support for you, and I
he has. He
can't
definitely
imagine
has.
that it's been easy for either of you, because marriage is hard. Marriage is
Yeah,
so
people
hard.
think it's just, oh, let's get married. No, it's a full-time job. You actually have to work at being married. And Saturday, my husband and I will celebrate our 28th wedding anniversary. And it's like,
Yay! Congratulations, you guys are.
yeah.
We just celebrated our 14th, so you guys are like double timing us.
Well, and the funny thing about 2020 was our 25th wedding anniversary, and we renewed our wedding vows in 2020. So it's like it was the last party of the year in 2020 because it was January.
Yay!
But it was nice though, because you know it actually made me feel good for that short period of time. But then everything else blew up afterwards, and it was like, oh my god.
Well, 25 years and 28 years, I mean, it's a huge accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it really is.
Yep. We were both married before. He was married for a year and a half. I was married for 8. I've never lived with somebody so long before, except for my son, and he's 37. So yeah, it's just a constantly talking about how you feel and reconciling your feelings and not being afraid, because guess what, some of the feelings I have may be some of the feelings that you have that you haven't reconciled yet. And if I start talking about, hey, so I've gone through this process to reconcile these feelings, that could spark something in you that says, oh, you know what, I have those feelings too. So that's why I want to talk. That's why I want to get it out there that mental health is not a 4-letter word. It's not something to be stigmatized. It's something to be embraced, because it's something we all deal with.
Yeah, and it's not secondary. It's not first live your life and do your job and make your money and take care of your kids and do your things and then deal with your no. It has to be number one, because without it, everything else kind of falls apart.
Right. Yeah, you have to cultivate your mental health no matter what. And I use the word cultivate because cultivate is my word of the year, but it is like cultivating your mental health, because especially if you're carrying baggage, you need to cultivate that baggage so it's not there anymore. It's like turning over weeds in a garden, so that you have fresh soil.
That's a great word, because it really speaks to the effort that it takes to care for, to love yourself, to put the work in. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a lot of digging and upturning and all the things to get it to a stable place. And then even when it's in a stable place, it still is going to take more work. It's always going to be something you have to actively care for and do.
Right. And if we start doing it in our generation, we can teach our kids how to do it. And the same with talking. If we start talking and not being afraid of it, our kids will start talking about it, and then their kids will start talking about it. And it'll go generation by generation, and we'll all be talking about it. I'm not going to say what I was going to say because it's political, so I won't do that.
Okay.
But I don't like being political sometimes because I have much different views from other people. But let's help our future.
I totally agree.
You know, we're concerned about the environment. We're concerned about the legacy that we're leaving our children. Well, the best legacy we could leave our children is confidence in themselves to
Yes.
be able to express their feelings.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
And then the tools to work through those feelings and come down to a healthy place on the other side.
Right. It's so important.
Absolutely so.
So.
This has been awesome. So besides finding your TED Talk, which I'm totally gonna do, and I'll put the link to, how else can we find you? And
I am on my website is starttheconvo.net. And so if your organization or corporation or association is looking for a speaker, you can go there. If you just want to chat with me, I have a time to chat, a coffee time, virtual coffee that you can schedule some time with me and we can have a virtual coffee. One of the hardest problems I had is finding gratitude when I was really at my lowest point. So I started a series on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. And it's a gratitude series. And it's like a journaling prompt, but it's a gratitude prompt. So it's not, what are you grateful for today? It's, what are you grateful for the color blue? Or what are you grateful for a friend? Or, so it's a prompt to get you to think about something that you're grateful for. Ooh, and I went through that process and it was an amazing process. That's on all three of those channels. And I'm always Start the Convo with Julie McLean. So anything Start the Convo is usually me. And you see the logo on my screen here. So
it'll be audio.
Oh, okay.
But we can put all the links in there. Well, and
that's okay.
Love your gratitude ideas. That's what Seeking Sunshine is all about. Is about finding those little rays of sunshine, even when everything's really, really hard.
And all those links are on my website as well. Awesome. And the series for the gratitude is coming to an end. I think it's going to end the end of February. I haven't finished putting it all out there yet. But then my next one is going to be Finding Self-Love. Yes. Because you need to find your self-love before you can find your self-confidence, because the one after that is going to be Finding Self-Confidence. So it's just all of these prompts that you go through, and you journal and you work through this process to help yourself find out who you truly are and realize that there is sunshine out there.
Oh, that's so amazing. I just love it so much. Thank you again. Do you have any final words of wisdom to share with us?
Pay attention. Pay attention to the people around you. Pay attention to yourself. If you don't think somebody's good, if they're changing the way they do things, ask them if they're okay. If you're feeling down and in a place where you don't think it's safe, ask for help. Just pay attention to yourself, pay attention to others, and let's start talking about this. Let's not keep it a secret. I go back and I think about, smoking and sex and, sexuality. You didn't talk about all those things back then, especially sex and sexuality, politics even. We didn't talk about it back then. And look how far in the forefront they are now.
Yeah, and so we do the same thing with mental health.
Exactly. And that's what I'm hoping for. I don't want it to take forever, but this is a worldwide movement. I have been on stages worldwide already talking about this. So whether you have a cultural block, you have a religious block, you have any type of block from outside sources, take a second, think it through, and go from there. And if you are in crisis, please, 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 if you're in the United States, please call the Suicide Prevention Lifeline. And all you have to do is text or call 988. Simple as that. Instead of 911, 988. And somebody on the other end of that line will be there for you to talk to you and help you. So it's
amazing. It's amazing. And
It is.
I absolutely love all of the work that you are doing.
Thank you.
I love it.
Thank
It's
you.
so powerful, and it is just so essential in this world today.
I'm starting a movement. Join the bandwagon.
Yes,
Talk about
let's
mental
all
health.
join. Let's all jump on it. We're all
Yep.
here. Let's do
Yep,
it. I love it
definitely.
so much. Well, thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate your time and your message. Your message is just amazing.
Mm-hmm. So hopefully I bring a little ray of sunshine to somebody.
You absolutely do. You absolutely do. All right. Well, thank you again. Have an amazing day.
You have an amazing day as well.
Thank you.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh my goodness, what an amazing and powerful episode from Julie McLean. I'm so grateful for everything she shared and for this powerful message of empowerment, of like, here's things that you can actually do that can change the trajectory of someone's life. So powerful, so important. And if this was something that you felt was really essential like I did, I hope that you'll share it with anybody who needs it, because I feel like this is really essential information for anybody who loves someone who's struggling with their mental health, or even if you are, then you can know the right things to express to those around you. Like, what can they say that will actually make a difference? So hopefully this resonated with you. I know that it resonated with me. So here are my favorite takeaways. Number 1, when all you can see is dark clouds, the only reason you can see them is because of the sun. Number 2, taking care of your mental health cannot wait. It has to be now. Number 3, I don't need to be perfect, because every time I fail at something, it's just another opportunity for me to learn. Number 4, learning how to say no is a huge milestone. Number 5, perfection doesn't exist. It's not something you can achieve. It's not something you can actually achieve, no matter what you put into it. Number 6, you're only having a bad day. You're not having a bad life. You don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. And number 7, let's help our future. The best legacy we can leave our children is confidence in themselves to be able to express their feelings. Oh my goodness, I love that so much. And I'm so passionate about teaching our kids how to regulate their emotions and how to allow their emotions to exist instead of just dismissing them, like I feel like so many of us were taught to do. And the key there is to first be able to do it for ourselves, because it's really hard to teach that if you can't do it for yourself first. But what an incredible episode, and what incredible words of wisdom from Julie. Make sure you check out her TEDx talk from the TEDxOcala 2021. You can just go search for that on YouTube. You can also check out her website, which is starttheconvo.net. And then don't forget that she offered a virtual coffee chat with anyone who's interested, which is amazing. So please reach out to her. You can find her on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook. And don't forget that she has that incredible gratitude series, which is so inspiring and so helpful, and is such a positive way to lift our mood every single day and to help us be in a better state mentally all the time. And then last but not least, if you need the suicide prevention hotline number, it is 988. That is such an important number to know about if you struggle with mental health, or if you know somebody or love someone who does. You can put that on the fridge. You can share it on social media. Whatever you need to do, that is such an important resource that we all have available to us whenever we're feeling like we don't matter, because you need to know how important you are and how bright your light is and how much the people around you love you and need you, because you are needed. You are needed here and now. And I just wanted to share so much love with everyone who's listening, because you really do matter. As we wrap up, I wanted to remind you to go check out my website, which is KaraleighGarrison.com. And if you want to follow me on social media, that'd be amazing. You can find me on Facebook at Karaleigh Garrison, or on Instagram, which is Karaleigh.Garrison. And if you want to order a custom song, you can email me at let's see, what is it? Custom songs by Karaleigh at gmail.com. Just reach out and we'll talk about it and we'll make something amazing for you. So I hope that you are having an amazing summer. I hope that you have an incredible rest of your day. And I will leave you with a song.